The NFL schedule makers just put the Pittsburgh Steelers in the worst possible situation. So, as we all know, the NFL schedule for all teams was released early in the week, and I made a video covering it. And in my video, I briefly touched on the Steelers having two Thursday night football games this year compared to other teams around the league, and how it's going to affect their season. And since I made that video, many players around the league, like Patrick Mahomes, George Kittle, and even current Steelers players and former Steelers players like Patrick Peterson and Vince Williams, has spoken up against how that's not really a good idea and how it's going to affect their bodies down the road. So like I said, Patrick Peterson, the Steelers cornerback who signed in free agency this offseason, apparently according to CBS, Brian Diardo, he thought it was a prank when he heard that they're going to be playing two Thursday night games this year because he's older and it's going to affect his body more, and he thought it was a prank. But now, on his podcast with Bryant McFadden, when he found out it was true, he had this to say. Football is the number one sport. They want to make sure that the product is being shown all the time. It's tough enough getting up for the first Thursday night game, better yet, another one. I get it. They want to find ways to get the ball on TV. But at the end of the day, you've got to think about our bodies, especially with me being in year 13. My body doesn't recover like it used to. To have two Thursday night games, I think it's a bit bizarre. So, obviously, he doesn't like the idea of having two Thursday night games, and it's true because he is 33 years old, and now his body's going to take a little bit more time to recover, and getting up for the second Thursday night game, being on a short week after just playing a game 4 days ago is not really a good idea, and that's how players get injured. And even Vince Williams, on social media, he had this to say about the Steelers' schedule. He's not a current player, but obviously he used to be a middle linebacker for them. He had this to say. I will stand on the opinion that I think the NFL hates the Steelers. Two Thursday night games is absurd. Thursday night games are pure on the body. Two car crashes in the same week. Shake my head. So, obviously, both Patrick Peterson and Vince Williams doesn't like the idea of the Steelers, and even not just the Steelers. The Jets as well have two Thursday night games. I don't know any other team that has any. As far as I know, those are the only two teams. I might be wrong, but only having two teams play Thursday night games, and even some teams not having any because of the schedule changes this year, which makes it allowed to happen, the Steelers and the Jets have one of the hardest schedules because of those Thursday night games. And many other players around the league, like Patrick Mahomes, earlier in the offseason was talking about how Thursday night games is not really a good thing on the body. And even George Kittle, when he was mentioning Thursday night games, he went on the Pat McAfee show to talk about it, and he was saying how the body doesn't recover like it used to. And being in two car crashes, he compared it to two car crashes as well. Being hit every single play, having your helmet, having your head get hit almost on every single play is not a good thing for the body. And he said basically, when you're not playing football during the week, it's all recovery. That's all you're doing. If you're not playing, you're doing recovery. So obviously injuries happen, and it makes a more chance of an injury to happen if you're playing on a short week. Alright, now that we talked about how it's going to affect the bodies, it's actually going to affect the play on the football field as well, because you have less time to prepare. For example, in a regular week, you would have 7 days until your next game, but in a short week, you're going to have 4 days, and usually teams give 1 day off right after the game to give you full prepare mode to recover and stuff like that. So we basically have 3 days, and now in that 3 days you have to get through film, you have to get through practice, and now even on a short week some teams don't even practice at all because now your body has less time to recover as it is, and being on a short week you might not want to go through the practice and put your team and your players through that hard work in practice. So now you might not even get a practice at all. And like I said, the film room for the young players is more key than the veterans. Obviously the veterans could sometimes get away with just playing football and not practicing, but the young players need to practice and they need to get more time on the football field and go through drills, look at film and stuff like that. For example, you're going to watch film on the other team, what they like to do, they're going to study what they like to do. And sometimes the coaches, based on the film, put you through drills on the football field to kind of get you used to what the other teams like to do and get you prepared for the week. And if you're not really going through that process and you're not going through that steps because you're on your short week and the teams don't really have enough time to do so, you're not getting the full time to prepare of what the other team likes to do, putting you at a disadvantage. And the Steelers have 2 times that this year. Yes, 1 week is fine because both teams are going through the same thing. But now the Steelers having 2 games on Thursday Night Football and being one of the only teams in the NFL do so, having short time to prepare basically puts them at a disadvantage for 2 weeks. The only good part about this that the NFL did in the schedule is they are playing at home in all those weeks that they're playing back-to-backs. For example, on both their Thursday night games, they're at home. And even the game before that in the week, so they play on Sunday, then they play on Thursday. The game on Sunday is at home both times, and the game on Thursday is at home at both times, meaning that the travel is less and they don't have to go on traveling. So that's the only thing they did right for that. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are at a disadvantage still, but I also heard rumors around the league and reports that the Pittsburgh Steelers were one of 8 teams that disagreed with this, that they did not want to have 2 Thursday night games this year, and they felt as though it's going to be hard on the players, so they did not want it to happen. But then I heard other reports saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers were in favor of it, but they just weren't in favor of flexing out from a Sunday night game to a Thursday game. For example, before this all happened, the NFL wanted to have the teams play Sunday, but were able to flex into Thursday. For example, if they didn't like the Thursday night matchup, they could switch you from a Sunday game to a Thursday game in short notice. But teams voted against that, and I heard that the Steelers were against that 100%, but then I also heard the Steelers were willing to have these 2 Thursday night games. So we're kind of really mixed signals there. But either way, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Jets are really in a disadvantage, and based on other teams around the league not even having any Thursday night games, it really just doesn't make sense having 2 teams play 2 games on Thursday, having short preparation, and having them in a disadvantage for the season. Not only recovering time, but the actual play on the football field as well. So, the players around the league always mention how they love primetime games, but the primetime games that they always mention is Sunday night and Monday night. And that's because that's not as tough on the body because you have a whole week to recover. They never mention how they love the Thursday night games. And they love primetime games in general just because around the world, people are going to be watching that one game. That's the only game playing on TV at that time or even on that day. So everyone's going to be watching only that game and they're going to be in the spotlight for that night. But they don't like the Thursday night games. They love the Sunday night and Monday night. But I know fans, as you said in my comments, you guys don't even like primetime games because some of you mentioned how you don't want to wait a whole day to see the Steelers play at night. Some of you have work the next morning and can't even watch the full game or can't stay up for it, so you don't like it. And some of you mentioned how the Thursday night games, you don't like seeing them play on Thursday because on Sunday, you have nothing to watch. You have no Steelers football to watch. So if they play on Thursday, you don't even have to watch anything on Sunday. I know some of you might watch other games like I do, but some of you don't. You only watch the Steelers play, so you have nothing to do on Sunday with your family. So some players love it, some players don't love it, but just in general, Thursday night games is not a big fan of. And once again this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the teams that have the most primetime games. The Pittsburgh Steelers have 4 primetime games this season, and they could even have more because of the flexibility of the schedule this season, giving the NFL the ability to switch your schedule whenever they want. For example, the Pittsburgh Steelers have 2 Thursday night games, so that's 2 primetime games there, and they also have a Sunday night primetime game and a Monday night primetime game, equaling 4. And we all know the Steelers late in the season, if it comes down to it, since they face divisional rival Ravens, it seems like that game always gets flexed to a primetime game. So the Steelers could even have 5 or even more primetime games this season. So let's see how this all plays out for the Steelers and their games this year. With that being said, let me know down in the comments below, how do you feel about the Pittsburgh Steelers playing 2 Thursday night games this season, and how do you feel about Patrick Peterson, Vince Williams, and even other players around the league like Patrick Mahomes and George Kittle not being big fans of being a Thursday night game players, and especially having 2 in the same year? Do you feel as though that's a big disadvantage, or do you feel as though this is being overblown and it's fine, just go out and play and see what happens for that week? Let me know down in the comments below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well if you like serious content and analysis reports. Like the video, turn on post notifications down below for this channel as well so you get notified whenever I post the next Steelers video. I covered all of free agency, and now that's over. I covered all of draft, and now that's over. Every draft profile of everyone who the Steelers drafted, even the undrafted free agents that we signed, are on the channel. So if you want to go watch them, go ahead. And just know every news, every rumor that goes into minicamp that's almost done, that's this weekend, I'm covering it. Every training camp, OTA stuff that happens, I'm on it as well. So like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you never miss out. I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.